All right, so in other NBA news, just to get right into it, Darvin Ham, who we all know was hired as the Los Angeles Lakers' new head coach, Phil Handy has accepted a job to be a part of his coaching staff. So shout out to them, making sure Phil Handy comes back.
Yeah, they saw him going to the Nets. So.
And I just want to, go ahead.
No, that was it. It was good to
Yeah.
secure him.
Yeah, surely. I know one of the things I've liked that so far, just hearing little things about Darvin Ham being hired. Of course, shout out to my guy, my GOAT, Rasheed Wallace, for joining that coaching staff. I know a lot of people, you know, Rasheed Wallace is going to be good for that team. Like, I wish he would have stayed at Memphis another year with Penny or went to UNC. But I think he's going to be good for Anthony Davis and just that team in general. I think people forget Rasheed Wallace was a stretch 4, stretch 5 in the NBA when he was playing. Could shoot threes, block shots, playing the post, had to have wore a pair of Air Force Ones. Because I think people forget Air Force Ones are basketball shoes. But he wore a pair of high tops with his silhouette on, with his signature post fade away on it. I know, like, and Darvin Ham said that he wants to play on 4 out, 1 in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I know me and you talked about it the other day, and I was saying, the only way it's truly going to work is if Anthony Davis commits to playing the 5, because I think, and the more I think about it, there's so much potential there. And I know we were listening to CJ McCollum them on First Take a little while ago, and CJ was saying, Westbrook can play, off ball, do some catch and drive things, and the 4 out, 1 in. I really do believe that could work because it'll be space there for Westbrook to create in those lanes, and even for himself and for others.
Yeah, I think all those are good points. So definitely congratulations to Darvin Ham. I don't think we talked about him since he's gotten the job. So salute to him. He gets to go back where he got his coaching start at. Most people don't know he started as an assistant with the Lakers. I think 2013, 12, something like that.
Before
some
Bud got the Hawks, right before Bud got the coach, head coach job at the Hawks.
So, but he had his press conference. Westbrook was at the press conference, so salute to Westbrook. I mean, he's in LA. What else was he doing that day? It was nice for him to pull up to see his coach. But yeah, like you said, I think a lot of people agree that AD should play the center. I don't even think because we saw him play it
at time
during their finals run. Right. I just think the main thing is he got to be healthy and playing like a top 10 player. So, but there's some potential there. So salute to Darvin Ham.
Right. And with that being said, I'm John W.
Fresh X.
This is the Hoopers afternoon session. Warriors got the finals tied up at 1-1 in, I think, what NBA Twitter would like to call a game that the referees maybe gave the Warriors. I'm not saying that because, of course, everybody was, it's not how many fouls they call, it's when they call the fouls. And it's like, fooey once again, but it's like, this, and not to, be sound negative or whatever against Boston, but the one thing we've commended Boston on since their game 1 win against Brooklyn in these playoffs is how physical they've been and how physical they've been allowed to be. I forgot who it was we were talking to, but Boston, Miami, Milwaukee, certain teams like that are going to be allowed to be more physical. And I think this was a case in game 1, they were the more physical team. They accepted the contact. They initiated some contact.
Right.
They took it and they played through and whatever. But in this game, that's without a good game and necessarily a good scoring game from Jason Tatum. Still had a double-double with 12 and 13. But this game, Jason Tatum got into a good shooting start early. So did Jaylen Brown. He kind of struggled after the first quarter. But the big thing what most people seem to be the fouls and how uneven the game is officiated. Boston is a physical team. Golden State came back and got physical. Draymond Green, for the most part, Kevon Looney, because they do have players that can be physical with you.
Right.
Do you have, when you see that, and like I say, we've praised Boston for that physicality, and when you see that, does it just come down to sometimes people wanted Boston to win this game? Like, not even like,
I mean, just whatever. The physicality was cool when they were eliminating Brooklyn. And then after that, it's been kind of complaints about it ever since then. But I think, honestly, they both get physical. They both kind of flop around. I think the problem for Boston was they let Draymond play his game and they got into it. I think it was Jaylen Brown after the game. Even he said it, like they let him get them off of their game and into the talking and stuff like that. And now once you get into trying to get calls, because sometimes the calls aren't there, you think you should be getting them, and then this person's also talking. All of that is like no nonsense. I think Boston has to figure out better ways to defend Steph.
Right.
They have to not play the talking game with Draymond and getting into his antics. And I mean, the Warriors. Some say they did what they were supposed to do as far as getting one game on the road because they got to win one on the road. But the officiating stuff like that's always just a moot point to me. Like, is officiating going to be the officiating? There's bad calls in every game. There's good calls in every game. There's missed calls in every game. But like, I've seen so much emphasis on stuff that's like if they called everything, the game they literally don't call everything. It's an infraction on every play. I think I heard a football person say like they call it's a holding on every play. Where you gonna call every single one? Like, and some of it aren't even fouls even.
Just contact.
You just see it in the moment. Go back and watch the game again, and then say how you feel about it. But watching it in the moment, you're also going off emotions. And then, I mean, a lot of people, there are many people that are pulling for certain teams because they're fans of them or they just like certain players, I guess, and that goes into it also. But I don't think the only officiating thing that I thought would be more of a talk about was them not giving Draymond that second tech, the double tech with him and Jalen because they didn't want to give Draymond another tech. But I've seen more people talk about, like you said, the officiating as far as fouling more than that. That was probably the only questionable thing I saw, honestly.
Right. And just looking back at game 2, what do you think the Warriors did better, just as far as getting that win? Because of course Jordan Poole,
Steph Curry, they did Steph Curry better.
I can respect that.
No, but like Steph is for one, as I already said, I definitely think Draymond got other players on the Celtics out of their game because Jason Tatum came out hot, knocking down shots and things like that. But defensively, a good thing that the Warriors did was respected the shooting of the Celtics a little more. Al Horford didn't get wide open shots. They could test it better. And then I just think Steph is like he's been just a force overall in this series. He's just like he'll hit 2-3 threes in a row at times when you think you're in the game, and he just kind of pulls it away. Because I don't even honestly, as I look at the stat line, you did get more from Jordan Poole, which thanks for him. Thanks for him for deciding to come to the game. And you got a little bit more for Kevon. Kevon was 6 for 6, so that's underrated. So support cast helped, but I just feel like Steph has been the best player on the court. He's playing hard defensively. And I just think they did a better job of contesting because you can't just let them boys shoot open shots like they was letting Al Horford shoot practice shots.
Right, I think
Payton Pritchard
game 1,
only 4 points.
Al Horford and Marcus Smart combined for 44. Game 2, I think they combined for like 4 or 6 or something.
I know Al Horford only had like 2 points, so
which is, I mean, that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, I mean, you could see him having those games because he had some games like that against Miami where he only had like 2 points and he get like 10, 11 boards. But I just feel like keeping him. Being aware of where he was even kept him off of like rebounds or whatever. I think he finished with like 8 rebounds opposed to getting 10, 11 rebounds. So just respecting what Boston could do more and being more active. I think it helped to bring, if you listen to the podcast, I said I think it would help too if they put Draymond on Jalen opposed to having him on Marcus Smart and letting him float around. Like the floating stuff is cool, but I like defenders that defend people. Like guard these people. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
And that takes some pressure off of Clay because Clay still didn't find it. They even played him deep into the game when it was over just so he could find the rhythm. But that takes some pressure off him defensively opposed to trying to guard Jaylen Brown the whole night and run around with him or whatever. So I think that helped just the intent defensively. Getting Gary Payton back also helped because now when he comes in with Jordan Poole don't got to play defense. Because he don't play defense. Gary Payton can play the defense. Jordan Poole can focus on offense. So the Warriors did a lot of good things.
And just speaking of defensively, and like I say, starting with Steph, who is quiet as kept, or the people who notice. But Steph did a great job.
Hold on, real quick. What's up with the Finals MVP ladder thing?
That's kind of. I want to know. I say that Jaylen Brown shouldn't be number 5 first,
especially because it's an NBA thing. But the NBA, because you think about Steph, and Steph is on. He's Finals MVP right now.
Right.
But I'm like Kevon Looney was like 3rd. I don't like the NBA.
Yeah, Kevon Looney was above Jason Tatum.
I don't like the NBA ladders, even during the season. The NBA MVP ladder. I think the NBA should.
Hey, I got a NBA. I know it's only 7 best of 7, but it's 2 games. We got an NBA. Like, just let us know.
My bad. That had nothing to do with what you was talking about. You were talking about Steph, and I was talking about the Finals.
Oh no, yeah, but no, yeah. Let us know who Finals MVP. But Steph in this series, and just even not this series, but over the last few seasons when he's been healthy and available, has definitely been a plus for them defensively. And I think this series, you've seen he got on a couple possessions where he got switched on Al Horford and basically held his spot.
Ground. That's all
Jason Tatum's gonna shoot over him, but it's not like Jason Tatum was burning him in the post or whatever every possession. I told you about. I seen some on Twitter the other day because Gary Payne, part 2, said that Steph is a two-way player, and they were saying basically Steph can be a two-way player because he's only an average defender. And somebody asked an important question there: why do players who don't even average 20 get to be considered a two-way player though? Because if you think about Steph offensively, he is a great offensive player, and then the effort he gives defensively, where he's a much improved defender. He's 2-time steals leader already.
But this is the problem with that whole argument though. Nobody says a two-way player has to be defensive player of the year, elite player. Two-way player means he plays on both sides of the basketball. That doesn't mean he's an elite defender.
Right.
It just means that he plays defense. Like, yeah, back in the day, and even still now, you're going to set a pick to try to get him to get the advantage. But is it really advantage if he's making you do all these extra moves to get to what you're trying to do and you're working way harder to get the bucket? And that's all that matters is holding your ground. It's like, why do we respect bigs that can switch on the perimeter? They're probably not stopping guards, but just holding your ground. That's what he's doing.
All right.
And that's all that matters. Steph plays good team defense. He's playing good in his matchup. No, I don't expect him to go out and stop Jason Tatum. I'm not going to say game's on the line, Steph. Go get a stop against Jason Tatum. That's stupid. That's not even being logical. But you're not picking on Steph and getting an easy bucket. Even if you score, if it take you seven dribbles to get a basket on somebody, you don't need to be going one-on-one against him. That don't sound too easy.
Right. No, and I respect that. Just looking at Boston, because like I said, those switches are going to happen regardless because that's how they play in the NBA. After that switch comes, like, you have to still attack Steph.
Yeah.
And, of course, like, you're not on the court. You're not Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or whoever the matchup is that gets switched on him. But how would you want to attack? He's still a small defender. How would you try to?
Because they do go for the switch of trying. I've seen them do it a couple of times of going for the switch of trying to get him on Jason Tatum. And it looks like kind of like a play that the Nets use. Remember, Udoka came from the Nets or whatever. The only problem with it is Jason Tatum settles for the jump shot with or the three, because what I would want to do is you get him on him because Jason Tatum was 6'9", Steph's clearly 6'3", and that way you can make a quick move and just be able to shoot over him, especially in the mid-range area. And that would also, if he's up under you, get you to the free throw line. So if I'm going to attack him, that will be a good way to get easy, quick shots, and it's in the paint. So if they come collapse on you real quick, somebody should be open on the outside. But just switching on him at the top of the key, thinking I'm finna go one-on-one, you far as hell away from the basket, is stupid. Like it doesn't work. It never really worked. Even if you go back to the Kyrie shot to win the finals, obviously he was running down some time. When he got into his moves, he did a couple moves and went to it quick. But a lot of times when they try to get switches on him earlier in the series, it was like they were just working way too hard.
Right.
So use that free throw line if you're gonna do it. But I mean, honestly, I don't think I would pick. I would pick on Clay.
I agree.
As far as who I want to work. I mean, I get working Steph because he works so hard offensively.
Right.
That's really more what it's about. It's trying to wear him down. But if you're really trying to get a matchup where I can beat somebody, especially with Jaylen Brown,
right,
and Tate, I would say Tate both of them too, because I want them both to get into the paint and get to the free throw line.
Right.
I would be working.
I know Steve Kerr spoke to that, basically how hard Steph works. He basically said he's one of the few players that can go out, run 10 straight pick and rolls on offense, and then come back and defend 10 straight pick and rolls on defense as well. And there's not too many players that can do that. So just speaking of Boston offensively in general, as good as they've been defensively all year, they've had those moments where they do go stagnant offensively. And I remember we got a friend, Thomas. I remember him saying a long time ago that's a lot of Eastern Conference teams where they're tough, physical, defensive teams that go stagnant on offense. You're Boston you have two 20-point scorers out there and, shooters as well. What are you doing to kind of help that offense, lose some of that stack, especially in that third quarter when we can see where it really started to go bad for them?
When they go stagnant, everybody on the team goes ISO. And that's kind of a big thing for everybody. But what kills any type of stagnation is cutting to the basket, because you're going to see the ball keep going in too, and you're going to catch the defense slipping. It's cutting to the basket and then just overall moving the ball. But when they do get stagnant, they go on their drought. So if not scoring, I guarantee you they probably haven't made more than 2 passes in those possessions, and they ended with threes. Because Boston is a team where, like, who's really a great shooter on Boston? Like who's a
shooter
on the Celtics? None of them are shooters. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Marcus Smart, not Grant Williams.
They shoot good percentages.
But they aren't when Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, JJ Redick. They aren't shooters. They're players that can get to the basket. They're players when they're feeling it, they can make shots. But they aren't Steph, Clay. Like Steph and Clay are shooters. Steph is all around player, but Steph is a shooter also. But you would think how they could follow. You could see a lot of games where Jaylen Brown have more 3-point field goal attempts and 2-point attempts. I don't think that makes sense.
Especially Jaylen Brown.
And even Jason Tatum, it happens for him a good amount too. They fall in love with the three when I feel like they can get in the basket more. That was always the thing with Marcus Smart. He shot threes like he was Steph, and his percentage was like Giannis. It was really bad. And he's improving to make timely threes, but he goes through those droughts too. You got to get to the basket. You got to get to the free throw line. I think I saw Jalen Rose said that he would like to see Jason Tatum have more free throw attempts and 3-point attempts. Yeah. Honestly, Jason Tatum is the type of player where what gets him to the next level, those players like him, Paul George, Kevin Durant, Kawhi, they go to the free throw line 8-9 times a game. I think Jason Tatum shot 3 free throws last game. Did he take that many? I may be way off. I'm pretty sure he didn't take more than 3 free throws. He needs to get to the line 8 or 9 times because he's not only unstoppable because his side step looks good when it drops. Get to the mid-range, shoot some floaters. He's a big fan of Kobe, but he doesn't play the all-around offensive game like Kobe all the time.
Jordan Poole, I know a lot of people. Well, not bad. Before we go to Jordan Poole, non-NBA Finals topic real quick. Have you seen the challenge Pat Riley put out there for everybody except Jimmy Butler?
He got to the line a good amount of times last game. He had 30. It was game one that I was thinking of. My bad. He shot 8 free throws last game, but he also had 20.
Why are we complaining about fouls again? Whatever.
So, yeah.
But have you seen basically the challenge put out there for the Miami Heat players outside of Bam?
I saw it, but I didn't know if it was real or not. So
I haven't seen anybody say it's fake or anything, but it's basically Bam score more.
Yep.
Tyler Hero be a starter. Earn a starting spot.
Because I did see he said he don't want to come on the bench no more. Earn a starting spot.
I forgot what it was for Duncan Robinson. I know it was Kyle Lowry, stay in shape. And I know somebody put up.
And the guy that Kyle Lowry is almost like Chris Paul to me. He was hurt too, so.
But I think that goes into staying in shape as well too, though.
Exactly. But I'm saying if he just did his body weight thing after being hurt, I wouldn't be surprised if he missed the mark. Right. But stay in shape, boy.
And I know people put up.
Said Bam score more. We said that all playoffs. Right. So.
And then I know of course, NBA Twitter has been kind of. I seen people saying it's time for Pat Riley to step down.
Yeah, I saw some Pat Riley should step down, but I don't really understand.
Like he's still putting this team together that just went to a finals.
They just went to finals this year.
NBA Finals 2 years ago. Yeah. But for Pat Riley, once again, if this is true or not that he said these things, it's the off season, of course. So this is the time for you to be. Maybe not right now.
That's what he was saying in the exit meeting. So right now.
I mean, I'm saying I'm
telling them.
No, yeah, it's telling them. Of course, it's telling them right now. But of course, it's players that some of them probably taking their family vacations or whatever.
Hey man, they've been out there about 3 weeks.
3-week vacation.
Exactly. It's time to get back in the gym.
But now, with that being said, of course,
wait till the finals.
If you're a team that's looking to be consistent, go to the finals. You're a player that's looking to get better, as you always should be. Bam, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, the young players. Max Strus is one of those players. He say Bam owe him half. He owe Bam half his check as well. And you hear this from Pat Riley. Of course, a lot of people, especially in this, I don't care, in this era, just in general, take stuff like that as more as criticism than a critique.
You can't challenge players.
Do you like Pat Riley still challenging his players even at an older age in this stage of his NBA career?
Yeah, you got to. Look, man, for your real coaches, I don't even play. I just play pro-ams now and leagues. I play in one league with my coach, and at the end of the league, even he gave me a challenge to get better. Because when you got that relationship with people, that's what you do, and that's the relationships that they have there. This is what's going. We was one game away from getting us to the finals. This is what gets us over the top next year. If Bam scored more, was more offensively dominant, was Miami's best player, Miami would be in the championship right now. They be playing for the championship right now. If Tyler Hero keeps his consistency up, because we all saw the inconsistency of his second year, came back this year, is inconsistent. what's stopping him from being their starting shooting guard every night? Why does he have to be the sixth man? Why do they have to go get Donovan Mitchell? He's your first round lottery pick. They would draft when he drafted in the lottery. He was top 14, right?
Yeah.
So he averaged 20 this year.
All right.
Do you take that next step next year and average 20 and 4 or 5 assists, or go to 23 points per game? Be our consistent shooting guard. They missed him in the conference finals. If he plays more, is healthy, maybe that changes some things for them, or whatever. Kyle Lowry, you're over the body weight percentage, which Miami, they hold everybody to that standard. He did miss a lot of games this season, and it always just go to show. I don't know any teams with players that miss so many games and then they still like win the championship, because during the season is what keeps you in shape for the playoffs,
right,
especially if you're out so much for injuries and stuff like that. So being an older player, he's closer to not to force retirement on him, but he's closer to retirement than his draft day. At this stage, it's an unathletic guard. You should stay in shape. It makes sense. Staying in shape is what's going to help you be your best player. It's going to make you be quicker out there, active on defense. He's always at the top of the league and like picks, but charges taking and stuff like that. So getting in those spaces, they need him to be in shape because he does take a lot of hits or whatever. So, Pat Riley's doing what any strong leader of an organization does, especially when you have those relationships. That's what the top coaches have always done, stuff like that. Pat have always given people challenges. The thing with Phil was he gave people books, read this in the offseason or whatever. That's what winning organizations do.
All right. But back to the finals. Jordan Poole.
But real quick, I don't think Pat should step down. That's stupid. But I wonder who is
right.
I wonder, does Spo take over for him and they get another coach, or does he? Because I don't know who is Miami's assistant GM, or past the president of basketball operations. I don't think they have a general manager. But so who would be the assistant GM or whatever? So I wonder I do wonder who Pat is teaching the game to come after him, because I don't think Pat is just holding on. Honestly, I do think the next person that's take over is gonna be somebody that they groom just like with Spoelstra to keep it going, because that's what Mickey Arison wants. That's what Spoelstra is gonna want. That's why I threw Spoelstra as being like the president, because he's been there for a while. I think Spo want to win another championship, so
right.
I think that happens first. But I do wonder who is next in line to take over, because if Spo takes over, and nobody probably said that, so I'm breaking some news, maybe it happens. We'll see. Get back to this in about 5 years. But if it was Spo, I wonder who would be the next coach or whatever. Right. But that's a story for another day.
Probably that Fizz though. He would never left.
Nah, we'll keep Fizz out of this. I heard they talking about him going to Utah now.
I don't want Fizz to be a coach
that easy.
But no, back to Jordan Poole before we get to game 3, who had it kind of started close to the end of the second quarter and finished in the second half. But Jordan Poole definitely played a better game in game 1. In game 2 than in game 1. Mm-hmm. I feel like he was a lot more settled. He got an assist out of a pick and roll early, and they just kind of floated off, and they hit a couple threes, 35-footer there in the game. I think nonsensical stat. It was like that's the 35. That was the first time a 35+ foot shot been made since Steph in 2019 in the finals. What did you see different from Jordan Poole in game 2 than you saw in game 1?
For one, I think like he runs the second offense, but I feel like he was making quicker decisions and got the ball out of his hands a little more than just if he had to go back to it, then go back to it, opposed to trying to dribble through everything, use pick and rolls and hold up possessions. So I thought he did a better job of keeping the flow of things going. I feel like it helped having Gary out there, because then he didn't have to defend. Because that's just not a focus that he is right now. He's figuring that, which he's early in his career.
He's playing for the baddies in the crowd.
You early in your career. I respect players trying to figure out their space. This is where I need to live at, so at least I know I can live in this league, because he's still early in the league. So I respect that part of the game. But I just think just playing with a better flow. Maybe you could say he was nervous the first game because this was his first finals or whatever. But he's had kind of a tough stretch really since the first round, but I just think the flow worked, and I honestly feel like he was watching how they were guarding Steph, because some of his first couple shots, if you look, they were similar to some plays that Steph made some buckets off of, especially that first deep 3 that he made or whatever. And then the half court shot was just like he was in rhythm. They gave him space. You can see the basket. I'm not surprised he made that shot.
Right.
I thought Boston should have pressed him a little more, but they thought he, was just throwing it up or whatever. But I just thought he was in a better rhythm, made quicker decisions, and then when you get some buckets going and it feel fun, that make the game easier too. So he definitely like he was having fun.
Now, it's definitely been one of my things about Jordan Poole over the last couple of weeks. I feel like he has definitely been disrupting the offensive flow for whatever reason, just trying to find his own rhythm and just not playing inside the offense. That's which is all you got to do in Golden State, honestly, just play inside the offense and the competition.
There's something there for everybody in that offense.
Right. And like I say, series tied 1-1, heading Boston for Game 3. What do you want to see from Boston to pick up a victory?
Continue to get to the line for Tatum. 9-10 free throws. Same thing for Jaylen Brown. Get to the free throw line. Get to the paint. You know what I mean? You want your role players. They're going to be comfortable at home. Knock down their open shots. Don't play the Draymond game because that's the only thing that gives him life, honestly. Because if you don't argue with him, he's just gonna argue with the refs, and then he's gonna get himself thrown out the game. So don't play the Draymond game. Continue to make him a scorer. Once they start getting into his antics, that led into how they even started guarding him a little bit. And then overall, you just need their role players always respond after a bad game. I've noticed that throughout the playoffs, and they have some very veteran role players. But after they have tough games, they always respond, and not even necessarily with I don't expect Al Horford to come out and have 20 points tonight or whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him have 6 points, 12 rebounds, 11 rebounds. See Derek White, he might have 8 points, but he hit some key threes for them, or even Payne Pritchard, he'll have one of those 9-point games, but 2 of the threes are in the fourth quarter type of thing.
Right.
I can see that as a bounce back for Boston. I think they still got a good opportunity because I honestly think Boston, Steph is moving this whole series, and Steph, what he's doing is enough to help him win the series. I think Boston got a better team than the Warriors, honestly. I think they had a good chance of winning the last game, and then they got away from them in the third quarter, and then they quit. They were frustrated. They were mad at Draymond, mad at the refs, and they quit. They got their one. But I think if they play up to their capabilities, they overall they have a better team. So I think Boston, they got a good chance of winning this.
And from Golden State, what do you want to see them do to pick up a win in Boston?
Decisive decisions from Jordan Poole again. Find your spaces. Be in control of the offense. I like Klay in game 1 more than game 2. And Klay did just get some extra shots up in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the fourth quarter just to get a rhythm. But I don't feel like he played that bad. Like, he could have played better in game 1, but he was like 6 for 14. He hit a couple threes.
That's the Klay Thompson finals game.
Yeah, true. So find some comfortable shots for Klay. Steph continues being aggressive. Continue to mix it up because Steph is knocking down his threes. But I thought he did a good job in that game of getting twos when they tried to run off his threes, and that's why he fell off so hard in the second quarter, game 1, because he still just kind of looking for threes. Because you make 6 in the first quarter, you think, oh, I'm about to hit 20 tonight. How I'm feeling,
right?
So you kind of just started looking for the three. So if the 3 wasn't there, he wasn't even necessarily shooting. Because I think he took 2 shots in the first quarter, game 1. So Steph continued to be aggressive from the 3 and the 2. Because it's really his series, honestly. I just say I think Boston got the better overall team. But Steph is the best player in the series. They win the championship. He's the best player in the association. If they win, they gotta do it. If they do it, he is king of the hill. He the king. But I think Steph has a gravity move series. And honestly, it's like he's had big games. I don't think he had a big game yet. And I expect Steph to have a big game. Like 40 tonight wouldn't surprise me from Steph. I'm not saying he's gonna get 40, but 40 tonight wouldn't surprise me from Steph. What's the betting on for? What's the betting numbers on Steph getting 40? I'm betting it tonight. I'm betting Steph 40 at the Garden. He ain't never played there in the finals.
Nope.
I mean, I don't know if it's the Garden. Well, it is TD Garden.
It's not Boston. It's not Boston.
Boston invites. Like going into the series, even he spoke to. Yeah, I know we don't play Cleveland in the finals or whatever. You played this historic player in LeBron, but to play like such a historic franchise, and we know if there's any fans that people, you know what they say about the Boston fans, and I can think of some things that they would say about Steph Curry. So, but he likes those environments. He likes those moments. He always been kind of the underdog player,
right?
And he hasn't had that. To not have a Finals MVP, people act like he hasn't had any Finals moments. This would be a good time to have a good Finals moment.
Right.
I would love to see Steph
just
really
quick,
get 50 tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 40.
A non-playing thing. He just brought up something that I don't think people like. The environment he's playing in.
Yeah, it's different. It's an inexperienced team, but that's an experienced environment.
Right.
I know they only been to a couple finals in the last however many years, but Boston no winning. Right. So
and just like not even just TD Garden, but there are places like that once you get to that area, of course that Crypto.com Center, TD Garden, Madison Square Garden.
Everybody always speak to how they want a big game. The first game in the Garden, they want to have a big game in Madison Square Garden.
Now Chase with Oracle, I feel like it was one, especially that 2015 when they got back there for the first time in that many years. Do you think, say, it's not? I don't think it's necessary because, I feel like Chase Center is such a different environment from Oracle. It's still, it's kind of the same, but it's
starting to get there.
But it's kind of. Do you feel like, that's that goes into what makes a great finals game, not even just finals game, but a playoff series as well, like the environment that the home crowd that both teams are playing. And do you think, just that score, do you think that also adds another level to how great a finals or a playoff series can be?
I for sure think that can add to, especially when the moments happen. Hey, that's why everybody make content about this stuff now, because it is something to marvel at when you got an environment where the fans are all for that team. It's championship history there, deep championship history there, and then you come out and perform. That's why. That's the whole entertainment side of it. So it definitely plays a part. I don't think Steph has to have 40 tonight to have a good game, but to imagine him scoring 40 in Boston, especially if it's a tight game, and kind of silencing the fans or whatever, putting his official stamp on the NBA Finals, since people discredit him not having an NBA Finals MVP or whatever. So to have a Steph game in Boston, I think would be a really entertaining moment.
No, sure.
It'd be one of those ESPN classic games that you go back to watch, or one of those type of games. If or even on the flip side of it, if somebody in Boston does it, if Jason Tatum, because I think people are waiting on Jason Tatum. He's been kind of anointed. He's earning it, but he's been anointed as one of the next. He got his first All NBA this year, first team this year. Little MVP conversation.
I got him in my top 8.
I don't know, because Kawhi's coming back, and I've been thinking about that recently. He didn't, but as I'm thinking about next year, I think I'm starting to. I ain't forgetting about Kawhi.
No,
but people are waiting on his moment. So imagine he goes off for 40 with the history of Boston, put them up 2-1. They at home. All the conversations that's been had the last 2 days are going to be different the next 2 days. If he puts them up 2-1, this is the end of the dynasty. Are they going to have to get rid of Draymond after this? Is Steph really that good? All the conversations that's going to come. So all of it play a part when you had a big game is had in one of these moments in the finals. I mean, that's what it's all about. It ain't what it's all about, but that's what a lot of people are waiting to see, though.
No, sure. But other than that, you got anything else?
I'm trying to think.
Quinn Snyder's, officially stepping down as Utah Jazz head coach.
Yeah,
like I said, you did bring up saying that
Fizdale, yeah, because Dwayne Wade's the owner.
Just before we get out of here, you ain't got to go too deep into it. Is Utah? I know they've had playoff success, but is Utah a super desirable coaching spot right now?
Desirable, no, but depending on what Utah's plan is, because you got Donovan Mitchell, you got Rudy Gobert. Are they trying to get off of them and rebuild, retool, switch one of them around for somebody else, or is it we looking to make moves to go for a championship? Because hey, you're being handed a playoff team, and that doesn't just happen. I'm willing to bet that Utah could be competing for the playoffs, whether they keep Gobert and Donovan together, or they trade one of them and bring something in for them. So you're being handed a playoff team that just last season had the best record in the league. So it's something there to kind of set yourself up for Western Conference Finals talk and maybe NBA Finals talk. I know they underachieved this year, but I'm just saying if you see what's been left there,
right,
which is why it is all the talk because you see the talents there. So I don't know who that would be a good opportunity for. I said Kenny Atkinson.
Mm-hmm. You definitely said Kenny Atkinson.
I said Kenny Atkinson. I'm not gonna say why, but he's more of a developer. That's so if you go, well, at least that's what. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not. Maybe he wants a playoff team. Maybe he wants to prove that I can lead the playoff team, right. Especially with Utah saying, there's no big superstar characters there, so everybody will buy in. So maybe that fits more what he wants to do.
Right.
But I wouldn't say it's a desirable as far as like, I gotta go to Utah. Right. Because you asked what's desirable. That's the only reason why I say no. Because if you want to be like, I gotta go to Utah, but I mean, if you wanted them, they on your side. So and you don't just get handed playoff teams that just a season ago. Say what you want about it. They were running through teams like they looked really good during the regular season.
Just like fans. They got put out in the second round.
Yeah, they were running through teams. So desirable as in my first choice, but desirable as in, hey, I'm getting a playoff team and
an all-star caliber player.
Yeah, because even if you trade Rudy Gobert, you're getting
something. Unless you're rebuilding.
Right. Which if you build, that means you gotta get rid of Donovan Mitchell also. Yeah. So would I take the Utah job? No. Nah. Actually, I would. As a head coach.
You seen in New Jersey?
I'll take it. I did. Was it the yellow and those are real?
Yeah.
They kind of look.
I ain't taking the job just for now. It's
like Utah has historically better jerseys.
They absolutely do.
And I feel like they could be a little more creative. They look summer league practices just because they're so simple.
Yeah.
So shout out to the Jordan logo being on there because he owns it. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers.
But like I said, other than that, you got anything else?
Now, just as always, appreciate the viewers, appreciate the listeners. You can find us anywhere podcasts are available. Search the Hoopers Pod on all your favorite podcast sites, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, all those other places. Podbean, it's on there too. Every Wednesday we here for the Hoopers Afternoon Session on the Off the Ball Network's Facebook page, off the Off the Ball Network. On the Hoopers YouTube page and on the Hoopers Twitter page. Make sure you go to YouTube, search the Hoopers Pod, subscribe. Shout out to, we got a lot of new subscribers, so people have been subscribing. That's really dope for real. So shout out to that. Again, appreciate the Off the Ball Network and all the dope people there. That's all I got.
All right, I'm John W.
Appreciate it.
It was the Hoopers Afternoon Session.